everyone. We're here in the pit lane at the sunny Mugello circuit for the stage 2 of the TCR European Endurance Race. I'm here with Emanuele Maltese, series coordinator. Today we had the very first stage. How is the debut of the series going?
Hi, good afternoon everybody. We are very happy to be here in Mugello. We really wanted to choose an iconic racetrack to start the season, and this morning was a very nice race with a lot of fight on track, and so now we are ready to watch the second half of the endurance race, and we will see what happened, and a good number of cars, and very and very nice drivers such as Salvatore Tavano, Eric Scalvini, Girolami. So TCR champions, TCR runner-up, and race winners. So it will be amazing.
Yeah, let's hope so. Thank you so much. Back to you.
Thank you so much to Alicia Cecchi, our pit lane reporter, and of course to Emanuele Maltese, series coordinator of TCR European Endurance. And welcome back everybody for stage 2 of the opening race of the 2025 TCR European Endurance season. I am Daniele Spadi and I will be your commentator today for the second half of the opening race of the season. It's stage 2. We already saw the first stage ever for this year in 2025, and here are the highlights of the first 55 minutes of racing that we saw happen earlier this morning, with Yuri Brigliadori starting in pole position. The BF Motorsport driver was the quickest one out of the blocks, especially towards turn 1, but then the number 6 Cupra that you see on the left-hand side of the screen was able to get first place. That was Salvatore Tavano, the 3-time TCR Italy champion from 2018 to 2020. Who got the lead of the race. And then, of course, we had many things to talk about. The fight in the DSG category, the issues that hit one of the Volkswagen Golf cars of Faro Racing, and then the fight between BF Motorsport and Wimmerwerk for the lead, with Tavano that saw his rival, Yuri Brigliadori, come closer into his rearview mirror. And then the fight continued after the pit stops, giving them the chance to their teammates, Alessandro Alcidi for BF Motorsport and Eric Scalvini for Wimmerwerk, to fight for the lead. But of course, Franco Girolami, the 3-time TCR champion, twice a European champion and once an Italian champion, then had to put the pressure on the number 3 Audi, who was able to defend quite well throughout the first half of his stint, but then had to let off the throttle thanks to a very small lockup that saw Girolami overtake Alcidi for second position, though the win of the opening stage and the lead for the race after stage 1 was for the number 6 Cupra of Wimmerwerk Motorsport with Salvatore Tavano and Eric Scalvini. And we are live with the images from the Mugello circuit with the stage number 2 of TCR European Endurance here in 2025, the opening race of the season that now sees the number 72 PMA Motorsport car of Franco Girolami in the lead after a fantastic move on the second lap of the race, of the stage actually, here in Mugello on Eric Scalvini, the number 6 Cupra that got the race lead after stage number 1, is still in second position, only 7 tenths behind, which of course is still a good gap. Let's remember the first stage finished with the number 6 Cupra in the lead with an 11-second gap over the number 72 PMA Motorsport Audi, who is now in the lead of the stage with 3-time TCR champion Franco Girolami in the car. Of course, the Argentinian needs no introduction. He is a 2-time TCR Europe champion, and in between those 2 seasons, 2022 and 2024, he also went and got the TCR Italy crown in 2023. Now he has Eric Scalvini behind with the number 6 car that is now in second position. And behind them, it's pole sitters Alessandro Alcidi and his teammate from the pits, Yuri Brigliadori, cheering him on. In third place so far, the two of them got pole position on Saturday, but now they are trying to get back towards the top of the standings. But unfortunately for them, Franco Girolami is very quick at this moment in time, keeping first place. But of course, we also have Eric Scalvini keeping him honest. The Italian is very quick so far throughout these opening 8 minutes of stage number 2, with Franco Girolami, who is definitely trying his best to make some inroads on Eric Scalvini, and most crucially, giving PMA Motorsport the chance to win the opening race of the 2025 TCR European Endurance season. But here we see the highlights of the start of the race, with Eric Scalvini, who started in first after his results in stage number 1, on the left-hand side of the screen, and Franco Girolami on the outside of turn 1 in San Donato. Girolami trying to make the move stick, but Scalvini defending perfectly well to the inside. The two of them went side by side towards turn number 2 and 3, with the first of the many chicanes of the Mugello circuit, but Scalvini was able to defend from Girolami, who then proceeded to make the move stick on lap number 2. And now we're back live with the images from the Mugello circuit, with Franco Girolami in the lead, Eric Scalvini in second position, and Alessandro Alcidi in third. Of course, for the race final results, we need to sum the times of the two stages, which would still see Eric Scalvini in the lead. The gap between car number 6, who's now in second in the stage, and car number 72, who's leading things as of right now, was 11.373 seconds at the finish line of stage number 1. So number 72 car will have to make that gap up if they want to get the opening race win of the 2025 TCR European Endurance season. Girolami, of course, trying his best. He's definitely looking quick as of right now. He holds the fastest lap of the stage so far in a 1 minute 58.7. Scalvini close behind, though. He's not losing too much ground, only a couple of tenths per lap, as we see from the graphics as well, whereas Alcidi is now currently 11 seconds behind the leading pair. We now see Girolami starting what is lap number 28 for the race. Lap number 5 for our stage. And here you can see the Audi of Tudor Motorsport fighting for the DSG podium. Tudor bringing two cars, a Volkswagen Golf and an Audi RS3, which we are seeing now with Emilio Damante in the car. Car number 8 is currently in 6th position, trying to make the best out of the situation, and of course trying to give Tudor Motorsport their first ever podium in their debut in the series. Of course, Tudor was in second and third place in the DSG class after stage number 1, which was led throughout the entirety of its 55 minutes by Senna Summerbell and Wimmerwerk Motorsport with their Cupra, who are now in 4th position in the overall standings and still in the lead of the DSG class. And here you can see the cars trying to navigate through the first few minutes in the best way possible. Of course, Damante in the number 8 car, and behind him his teammate in the sister car, Luca Giovannoni holding the lead in the overall standings compared to Emilio Damante. There's roughly a 21-second gap between the two of them, considering the results from stage number 1 as well. But we'll now be focusing on stage number 2 and then giving space to the overall classifications as we draw closer to the end of our stage. Girolami still trying to make the best out of his situation, trying to push as hard as he can. He is still the fastest car on track, though. Eric Scalvini is not letting up. He only lost 2.5 tenths throughout the previous lap. And Scalvini is keeping Girolami honest, Of course, the Argentinian doesn't need any introduction, but Scalvini is definitely looking like very quick competition for Girolami as of right now, with the number 72 still in the lead and the number 6 closely following behind, as we see the number 2 car recovering from a spin. That's Berk Kalpaklioglu, who is now 10th in the stage standings. He's, of course, part of the Texaco team AMS crew in the DSG category. The Turkish team sweeping all 4 titles in 2024, including the DSG and Gen 1 class titles. In the latter category, they're still leading with car number 1, Sinan Çiftçi, now behind the wheel, and then Ibrahim Okyay, the very experienced multi-champion on the national side of motorsport for Turkey. They are 5th overall, and of course leading the Gen 1 standings, as we now see one of the 2 Faro Racing cars, and that's car number 5, Stefano Moretti, driving the Volkswagen Golf for the entire stage as well. He's one of the 2 drivers who are riding solo here. Of course, that's a possibility, though drivers will have to spend 5 more seconds in the pit lane as a result. But of course, that's still allowed by the rules, with car number 5 currently in 9th position in the overall standings. Stefano Moretti trying to gain on Berk Kalpaklioglu in the fight for not only 8th position overall, but also 4th place in the DSG class. It's great to see Faro Racing back in the championship after contesting in a couple of rounds last year in Mezzano. Also taking some impressive results in the DSG category. So it's very nice to see them back for the entire 2025 season. A team that managed to qualify inside the top 10 with both cars. Of course, they have another Volkswagen Golf belonging to Leonardo Cupari, who is currently in 10th position overall and 6th in the DSG class. And then Cupari will be handing over the car, most specifically car number 33, to Daniele Verrocchio in the final part of this stage and of the race itself. Meanwhile, here's our leader, Franco Girolami, in his PMA Motorsports Audi RS3, one of the most iconic cars in TCR racing. Of course, TCR European Endurance supporting 3 different categories of touring cars. The ones that are most recent with a sequential gearbox fighting for the overall title, and the number 72 Audi is a perfect example of that. The DSG category, of course, belonging to those who are racing with a car equipped with a DSG gearbox, and then the Gen 1 standings there are for those cars that have not received any updates from 2018 onwards as per technical notifications of the WSC. Girolami so far holding the lead of stage number 2. Remember that he needs to build the biggest gap possible in order to make up for that 11.3 second deficit that the number 72 crew has over the number 6, which was the leading crew after stage number 1 with Eric Scalvini, that will then give Salvatore Tavano, the 3-time TCR Italy champion, the chance to make some ground up over Franco Girolami's teammate Sandro Pelatti, though the latter knows this track very well. We'll talk about this, of course, when Sandro gets in the car, but he is from this very region of Italy and knows the Mugello circuit better than anyone else. 38 minutes and 25 seconds left. As you can see, Franco Girolami built a sizable gap over Eric Scalvini.
We're here with Zakai Ozen. With your teammate, you are the youngest lineup in the championship. How is this first race going?
It's going pretty well. Just my teammate turned the car off, but not a big deal. We can manage it in the track. We're gonna do what's possible.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Back to you.
Thank you so much to Alice Cecchi. We heard from Zakai Özen, part of the number 2 crew that is now in 4th place in the DSG standings, 8th position overall for Berk Kapaklioglu, who is fighting very hard to stay there. Of course, that is the position in the overall standings concerning both stage number 1 and stage number 2's results. In this particular stage, Kapakoglu runs in 10th place after the spin that we saw before from the replays. Of course, Kapakoglu right, trying to find his rhythm. Kapakoglu making the switch from karting to car racing this season. Whereas we now see the Volkswagen Golf of Faro Racing, of Stefano Moretti, more specifically the number 5, starting another lap, and behind them, Franco Girolami in his Audi. Of course, the two cars belonging to two different classes. Faro Racing contesting in the DSG category compared to Franco Girolami's overall efforts to try and win the overall standings this year after the brilliant debut that they had in Misano last year with Sandro Pelatti. Girolami's first ever race in TCR European Endurance ended with a victory on Italian soil. And Girolami knows this track perfectly well too, after having raced here in TCR Italy in 2023, the year where he became champion. And here you can see Faro Racing trying to navigate the very difficult 15 corners of the Mugello circuit, one of the most historic and iconic tracks, not only in Italy, but of course in the entire motorsport world as well, both continentally and globally. The track opened in 1974 that boasts 15 corners, and we're now seeing its third and final sector with Faro Racing's Stefano Moretti, who is currently in 9th position in the Stage 2 standings, as you can see from the graphics as well, but he is 5th in Class 2, and he's now ready to make way to Franco Girolami. As he sees the blue flags, he's likely going to pull out of the Argentina's way, and that is the case, with Girolami going through on the outside, taking a wider line into the final corner, trying to build as much speed as possible towards the start-finish line. Girolami, of course, still building that gap, which is now 6.2 seconds over Eric Scalvini on the start-finish line. Scalvini still doing a great job, to be completely honest. He's only losing 2 to 3 tenths per lap, which is great pace from the driver who brought the Cupra number 6 home to the lead of the race after stage number 1. And let's also remember that in a couple of minutes, the pit window will open. Of course, everyone has to make a mandatory pit stop with a minimum duration of 2 minutes and 15 seconds for those crews with 2 drivers, and 2 minutes and 20 seconds for those who are riding solo. And that is Senna Somerville's case, the number 32 car, currently in 4th overall and holding the lead in the DSG standings. And then, of course, Stefano Moretti, which we talked about in the last few minutes before going with the cameras on Franco Girolami during the lapping procedure. As we now see Eric Scalvini in the number 6, he's doing his best, isn't he? And his best is clearly enough for now to stay in the lead, though the gap to Franco Girolami in the combined standings is only 5 seconds, though we have seen Salvatore Tavano, Scalvini's teammate, being faster than Girolami's teammate, that is Sandro Pelatti, in stage number 1, though the track was slightly damp, and of course it was tougher for drivers to find their rhythm. And of course, a 3-time TCR Italy champion such as Salvatore Tavano made no mistake in judging the conditions earlier this morning, bringing the Cupra to first place right away after starting in 2nd. And of course, we'll see car number 3 as well, BF Motorsport, with Alessandro Acidi right now at the wheel. Of course, he will be handing things over to his teammate Yuri Brigliadori, who set the fastest lap in Q1 and the fastest lap of qualifying in general. And then, of course, drove brilliantly in stint number 1 this morning, though he lost first position to Salvatore Tavano a couple of sectors after the race start. He stayed with him and handed the car to Alcidi in prime position to score a top 3 finish in stage number 1, which is exactly what Alcidi did, bringing the car home in 3rd position. Here is Franco Girolami again. His last lap was a 1 minute 59.2, which was a very quick one for Girolami, gaining 1.2 seconds over Eric Scalvini, who is now starting maybe to struggle on his tires. We'll see what the decision will be once he makes his way to the pits, as Scalvini will hand things over to Salvatore Tavano. Girolami definitely trying to push as hard as he can to make the biggest gap possible. He's still gaining on Eric Scalvini, but he will need to do so, as of course Salvatore Tavano is one of the quickest drivers of the entire field. Behind them, it's Senna Somerville in 4th position, and in the DSG lead, the Jamaican driver who has made his European debut last year in the German GT4 Championship, run by ADAC. Of course, he showed his entire potential, thanks also to the tips and the improvements to his driving style made by coach and mentor Chris Issa, who was present here and also partook in free practice earlier this weekend with the number 32 car that is now being driven by Senna Somerville only, though this has not slowed down the young Jamaican talent who was by far the quickest one in the DSG class this morning, and he looks to be on his way to yet another faultless performance, though with still 30 minutes and 49 seconds on the clock. Anything is possible. We know the world of racing. We know just how hard it can be for everyone involved to finish a race, especially an endurance format as exciting as the one brought by Mauricio Slaviero and TCR European Endurance, as we now see the number 3 Audi of BF Motorsport lapping the DSG car of Faro Racing, the number 5 with Stefano Moretti, still going strong here in Mugello. Alessandro Acidi making the pass, though of course not for position, but only for track position itself. As here you can see the DSG lead of Jamaica's Senna Somerville. Of course, very iconic name for the Jamaican driver, who is now going through the first chicane of the track, turns number 2 and 3. He was lightning quick throughout the entire weekend in all conditions, not only in dry running, but especially in the wet, where he claimed class pole. Though, as we can see now on the right hand side of the screen, on the lower part, Race Direction has deemed that the pit window is now open, so we can expect drivers to pull into the pit lane and stop for their mandatory pit stops of 2 minutes and 15 seconds at least. So we'll see what the strategy will be in stage number 1 with reversed roles. Of course, the drivers who are now in the car were driving in the second half of stage number 1. We saw the number 72 Audi of Franco Girolami and Sandro Pelatti peel off into the pit lane immediately. So we can expect the contrary here, of course, giving Girolami as much time as possible to gain on Scalvini, the gap growing by 9/10 in the previous lap. And of course, this means that now Girolami is as close as ever to the combined standings lead. As here you can see Senna Somerville getting ready to make his pit stop. We'll see if he will be one of the first drivers to pull into the pit lane. As here you can see Tudor Motorsport getting ready to make their pit stops, as well as BF Motorsport. And yes, we can now see that Senna Somerville is in fact going into the pits, as well as the number 3 car of Alessandro Acidi, who has done a terrific job to keep a good pace and stay in 3rd place in the overall standings. The car never leaving the top 3 in any of the sessions so far, topping FP2 and of course qualifying, thanks to both Alcidi's and Yuri Brigliadori's efforts. Brigliadori being the brother of last year's overall champion Eric, who is now more into a managerial role in BF Motorsport. He's still here in Mugello to support and work for his brother. As now we also see the Tour de Motorsport Audi making his way to the pits, as well as one of the Texaco Team AMS car that was the number 2 of Berk Kalpaklioglu, who will make way for Zekai Özen, whose words we heard a couple of minutes ago from the pits, and thanks to our pit reporter Alicia Cecchi. And here you can see the other Tour de Motorsport car who stayed out so far. That's car number 38 with Luca Giovannoni, who will leave to Alessio Alcidi. And yes, that is Alessandro's brother in the Tour de Motorsport team. So a lot of brotherly action for TCR European Endurance, as Giovannoni and Alcidi are currently fighting for a spot on the DSG podium, so far holding second position in class, with, of course, the chance to hit a double podium for Tour de Motorsport on their debut, with both car number 38 and car number 8, with Edoardo Maccari now ready to exit the pit lane, as Yuri Bigliadori does just that, disengaging the pit limiter and trying to start his comeback on the number 72 car of Franco Girolami and then Sandro Pelati. The gap was only 3 seconds between the two of them at the finish line in stage number 1, as we now see Senna Somerville make his way towards the pit exit, the leader of the DSG standings. Of course, to wait for the final stops to be made is a very wise choice before having a look at the standings, but we can tell you that thanks to this pit stop, Senna Somerville will be keeping his DSG lead, as we now see the Jamaican driver make his way through the first couple of corners. Of course, tires are a bit colder now. He has to wait before pushing too hard, as we now see Giovannoni being helped out of the car by Alessio Alcidi, the latter one now making his way inside the team's Volkswagen Golf, as we now see the other Golf present in the pit lane, and that is the number 33 of Leonardo Cuppari, who will be leaving to Daniele Verrocchio the job of finishing strong this first race of the season, as we now see Franco Girolami, of course, trying to go longer than their rivals, whereas car number 6 is in the pit lane, and so Eric Scalvini will be finished with his racing duties in just a matter of seconds. As soon as he steps out of the car, he will be done for the day and the weekend itself. The only thing left for him to do is to cheer teammate Salvatore Tavano on, maybe giving him a couple of directions on how the car works, how everything is feeling, because, of course, crew number 6 has some ground to make up in order to finish in first place in the combined standings. Tavano held an 11.3 second gap over Franco Girolami after stage number 1, and once Girolami will peel off into the pit lane, giving the car to Sandro Pelati, we will know what Salvatore Tavano has to do in order to close the gap. He does not have to catch back up to the number 72 Audi. He just needs to stay inside 11.3 seconds and finish in P2 in order to win the first race of the season, whereas we see some damage on the bodywork on car number 2. That is Zekai Özen at the wheel of the DSG Texaco Team AMS Audi, who is now in 10th place in the overall standings in stage number 2, but still fighting for a top 4 finish in the DSG category in the combined standings. Özen following through with his stint, despite the little damage that we saw on the left-hand side of his car's bodywork. As we now see Scalvini definitely out of the car. He's finished helping Salvatore Tavano strap in, as the number 6 is soon to be released from the pits, whereas Franco Girolami will have to bring his car in very shortly because the pit window is about to close. And there it is, the number 72 Audi in the background, having entered the pit lane and stopping now. Here it is with our lovely camera work from the pit lane. Girolami making his way out of the car, taking out his seat, with the team putting Sandro Pelatti's one inside the Audi RS3 LMS car, with PMA Motorsport in prime position to take, of course, a podium place in the overall standings, but of course fighting for the race win, which is the prize that everyone wants at this moment in time, with Salvatore Tavano now pushing as hard as he can to bring those tires into temperature and in the right temperature window to optimize his pace. That is what everyone else has done. As we now see also the Texaco team AMS car of Ibrahim Okiai make its way out of the pits. Of course, they are fighting with Senna Summerbell for 4th place in the overall standings, though Ibrahim Okiai and his teammate Sinan Çiftçi will be sure of the Gen 1 win at the end of the stage after their great performance in the opening part of this weekend's race. Now we can see in the top right corner the Audi of Sandro Pelatti ready to be released out into the track, as Salvatore Tavano is making his way through the final sector. Now into turn number 12, the long right-hander that brings Tavano to the final flat-out chicane before turn number 15, final one of the entire racetrack. As we see, Pelatti still waiting for the okay from his mechanics. Now he can hit the throttle and get out of the pits, with Pelatti disengaging his limiter and therefore having quite a big advantage over Salvatore Tavano, as the pit window is now closed as per the race director's notes. And here it is, Sandro Pelatti. He has to push as hard as he can to keep Salvatore Tavano behind. The gap was around 11 seconds from the two cars after stage number 1, though Franco Girolami had gained almost all of that back after the opening stint of stage number 2. Here you can see Pelatti making his way towards turns number 4 and 5. The same goes for Salvatore Tavano, flashing his lights towards the lapped car, and that was Daniele Verrocchio in the Faro Racing number 33 Volkswagen. Very nice to see 3 different cars in the same shot, the Audi, the Volkswagen, and the Cupra. All of them very competitive in this opening round. We saw the battle between Cupra and Audi for both the overall standings and the DSG class. Tavano now getting a bit impatient behind Daniele Verrocchio, who now diligently moves to the right-hand side after Arrabbiata 2 to make way for the 3-time TCR Italy champion in the number 6 Cupra, who's now trying to hunt down Sandro Pelatti in the hopes of retaking the overall lead of race number 1 here at the Mugello circuit. PMA Motorsport holding the stage win so far, though you can see just how close the number 6 Cupra really is to the back of Sandro Pelatti, who still has to fire his tires up into the right temperature window, which means that Salvatore Tavano is dangerously close, coming out of the final corner towards turn number 1. Let's see if Tavano will have the overspeed to maybe try and move up the inside, or if he feels brave, around the outside of San Donato, the opening corner here in Mugello. Though it seems like the gap is too big for Tavano to do anything about it. Now into turn 1, but of course, car number 6 has the time to think it through. They can even stay directly behind Pelatti in order to take the overall race win, though of course any driver would want to win the stage as well, which would be a great performance for the number 6 car, of course, having taken the lead after stage 1, crossing the line in first place, and then to take the stage 2 win as well would be absolutely fantastic for Wimmerwerk Motorsport, a team that has made its debut here in Mugello. Though you can see how close Salvatore Tavano is going into sector 2. Let's see if he can find the right space and basically retake the lead after Franco Girolami tried and succeeded in pulling off a very similar move on Eric Scalvini at the start of the race, going through Arrabbiata now with Tabano looking to the inside maybe in one of the chicanes. He does not have the speed nor the space to try and make a move up the inside of Pelati. He thought about it into turn number 11. He had to let off the throttle, otherwise he would have probably caused a crash. So very intelligent racecraft from the three-time TCR Italy champion. Of course, you would expect nothing less from Salvatore Tabano, but the same could be said for Sandro Pelati, a very experienced driver and a quick one indeed. This is exciting stuff here in the opening round of the 2025 TCR European Endurance season, as Tabano looks to the inside into the final corner, though he has to open up the throttle and wait for the right moment to shine, as he now looks to maybe try the switchback to get a better exit off of the final corner, which seems to have worked for Tabano, as he now is dangerously close to Sandro Pelati towards turn number 1. Let's see if something happens in San Donato, with Tabano now maybe going towards the outside, faking it and diving up the inside of Sandro Pelati. Side by side go the two protagonists of stage number 2, and it's a great move by Salvatore Tabano, who makes his way through to the lead of stage number 2. A fantastic overtake from Wimmerwerk and Salvatore Tabano, who take first place away from PMA Motorsport and Sandro Pelati, though the combined classifications already saw Salvatore Tabano in the lead. He wanted to take that P1, and he was able to do so with a fantastic move up the inside of turn number 1, faking it to the outside and then throwing the dagger to crush the hearts of PMA Motorsport. And here you can see the replay. Just look at how Tabano faked it towards the outside before pulling out of the slipstream at the very last second. Pelati couldn't do anything about such a great move from Salvatore Tabano. Slight lockup that showed just how close the two were to making contact and to the limit of their cars, but that was fantastic stuff from both drivers. On lap number 46. And here you can see now Sandro Pelati still keeping it close to the leader. Behind them is Yuri Brigliadori in third place. As you can see from the graphics, though, he has been pushing very hard, taking the fastest lap of the stage as well with a 1 minute 57.7, gaining a full second on both Tabano and Pelati. Though we'll see now what the official times will be for lap number 46 as they now cross the line. Tabano now into lap number 47. Yuri Brigliadori with a gap of roughly 15 seconds behind Salvatore Tabano. Remember that car number 3, who is now in third position, was only 3 seconds behind the Audi number 72 of Pelati and Girolami. So that is definitely the chase that is happening right now for BF Motorsport, the car that took the first ever pole position of the season in actually what was the first ever wet qualifying session of the entire history of TCR European Endurance, the championship promoted by Mauricio Slaviero, that started off last year and is now back bigger than ever with 18 drivers that are putting on a show here in Mugello, which is the first one of the 5 races that we will be having this year. After Mugello, we'll take a short break before being back from the 6th to the 8th of June at the Slovakia Ring in Oreshova-Puton, one of the best tracks in Eastern Europe, before heading to another very nice track in Eastern Europe, that is the Pannonia Ring in Hungary, from the 11th to the 13th of July. After the summer break, the last 2 races will see the championship go back to Italy for the final 2 rounds. It will be Vallelunga first for round number 4, as the Autodromo Piero Taruffi will host the series from the 19th to the 21st of September, before waiting for the weekend of November 15th with the Misano World Circuit dedicated to Marco Simoncelli, that will host the season finale just like last year with a fantastic night race that will see the drivers through to the 2025 TCR European Endurance season, and that will crown the overall DSG Gen 1 and Teams champions of this year. It's another lap completed from Salvatore Tavano, as the Italian driver is looking to build a gap over Sandro Pelatti, who's not letting out the throttle though. He only lost 1,000 of a second in the final lap. But let's see here from Alice Cecchi in the pits.
We're here in the pit lane with Eric Scalvini, stage 1 leader and actually race winner leaders in this moment. How is the race going?
Well, I think I pushed a lot in the beginning in this second stage. I tried to follow Franco. He pushed it fully, also him, and so I tried to follow, and I tried to push and save the position to stay near as much as possible to him. And the last lap was difficult with the tire, but now Salvatore is in the car with fresh tire. He's doing an amazing job, and we will see at the end.
Thank you so much.
See you, bye-bye.
Back to you.
Thank you so much to our pit reporter Alice Cecchi, as we heard from them. Unfortunately though, there's a very unfortunate stoppage on track, and that is Salvatore Tavano in the Wimmerwerk Motorsport Cupra. The teammate of Scalvini, who was leading the race, seems to be in trouble and hitting trouble now, which is definitely not what Scalvini wanted to see after his interview with Alice, but that is definitely not what Wimmerwerk Motorsport had in mind for the final 10 minutes and 45 seconds, as Sandro Pelatti will then take the lead, not only of the stage, but of the race as well. Incredible scenes here in Mugello as Salvatore Tavano and Wimmerwerk Motorsport hit trouble in the middle of lap number 48. We'll have to see whether the car number 6 will be able to make its way back towards the start-finish line, or at least to start the car back up again. Of course, we don't know the nature of the issue on the number 6 Cupra, but that is incredible scenes with only 10 minutes left on the clock after more than an hour and 40 minutes of racing. That is heartbreak for Salvatore Tavano and Eric Scalvini, who will lose ground in the standings after this, but that is exactly what PMA needed to do, needed to hope for actually, in order to fight for the race win once again. And now the action is then shifted towards the fight between Pelatti and Brigliadori, the latter having to make up, however, an 11.8 second gap and then overtake Pelatti and gain another 3 seconds on him after the stage 1 standings. And of course, now the number 72 PMA Motorsport Audi is in the lead of the combined standings, ahead of Achille Brigliadori and the DSG car of Senna Somerville, who is now incredibly on the overall podium. What a disastrous end to a fantastic opening weekend for Wimmerwerk Motorsport. In the overall standings, they were looking so good, especially after stage number 1 and especially after such a strong showing here in stage number 2. Though car number 6 hit trouble, and now it has to be seen whether Tavano was able to make his way around, though it does not look like it as of right now, which is such a shame for the number 6 car, as we now see Sandro Pelatti still leading, but we're very close to giving the word back to Alice Cecchi in the pits.
Alessandra Cidi, currently P2 in the stage 2. How is the race going?
Yeah, it's very difficult. The first lap, I am very slow. But last lap, it's okay. Now Tavano is retired, Yuri in second place, and return behind the Pelatti.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Back to you.
Thank you so much, Alice. Thank you to Sandro Arcidi, who is now in second place together with his teammate, who's now chased by the cameras, Yuri Brigliadori in the number 3 Audi, who's now going through the same place exactly where the Cupra is stopped. So that's unfortunately race over for the number 6 crew. Heartbreak for Wim and Werk Motorsport. They were doing so well today, but unfortunately it was not to be for Salvatore Tavano and Eric Scalvini. Only 7 minutes left on the clock. That is really heartbreaking for them, though they have showed that they have what it takes to fight not only for race wins, but also perhaps for the entire championship. Of course, series is very long. We still have 4 more rounds to go, and of course, with an endurance format such as this one, consistency will be key. So we'll see whether or not they will bounce back in Slovakia for round number 2 from the 6th to the 8th of June at the Slovakia ring. That is good news, of course, for Yuri Brigliadori, though. Together with Alessandro Acidi, they are now back into second position in the overall standings, and they are making their way towards Sandro Pelatti, gaining quite a lot of time in a previous lap. 2.1 seconds was Yuri Brigliadori, of course, faster than Sandro Pelatti. 1 minute 59.2 versus the 2 minute 1.3 from the Tuscan driver, who's still holding the lead. And let's remember, Brigliadori finished roughly 3 seconds behind Sandro Pelatti in stage number 1. So to win the opening race of the TCR European Endurance season, Brigliadori has to not only overtake Sandro Pelatti, but also build a 3-second gap on his rival to try and make the impossible possible here in Mugello. We said it about 20 minutes ago. Anything can happen in racing. We know this, and we keep getting reminded of this race after race, championship after championship, as we saw many exciting moments throughout last year's season. Of course, the maiden one for TCR European Endurance, and 2025 promises to be nothing short of that, with Sandro Pelatti now knowing that he is in the lead. He's trying his best to stay calm, to stay collected, and to keep the lead and keep Yuri Brigliadori behind, with, of course, the number 72 car getting ready to go on the final corner of the racetrack and start lap number 51 in the chase towards the first victory of the season, though we are going back to the pits with Alice Cecchi and Christopher Issa, of course, the driver coach of Senna Somerville, who is now leading the DSG standings.
And now we're here with Christopher Issa, teammate of Senna Somerville, currently leading the DSG class. How is the race going for Senna, and what's your opinion on his performance until now?
Yes, I think he's doing very well. He's driving very consistently. He got a good start, unlike in the first race, so he was able to hang on a bit. He's now, I think, going to be on the podium in 3rd place, because one of the other cars had a penalty for too short a pit stop, and he just hopes to keep it together and finish. That would be a very good day for us.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Back to you.
Thank you so much, Alice, and thank you for the entire support during the weekend. It's been lovely to hear from you, and of course, to get the quotes from the drivers, either out of the car or before stepping in, and of course, in this case, from Chris Issa, who has been here with Senna Somerville and the Jamaican crew, racing for Wim and Werk Motorsport, doing a fantastic job so far in this opening race of the season. And now you can see Yuri Brigliadori being very close to Sandro Pelatti. The gap is coming down lap after lap, corner after corner. The Brigliadori has to overtake Pelatti and gap him by more than 3 seconds in order to win the opening race of the season following stage 1's results. Brigliadori being quicker than Pelatti is no surprise given his performance throughout the entire weekend, and stage number 1, Brigliadori has been one of the quickest drivers of the entire field. He still has the fastest lap now in stage 2 with a 1 minute 57.7. So let's see what he can do to try and nick the win from Pelatti's hands. This will be absolutely fantastic finish to see here in the opening race of the season. 2 minutes and 32 seconds to go. The race will be done after the clock hits 0 and the leading driver finishes the lap that he finds himself in. As now Pelatti manages to make his way through the number 38 car. That is Alessio Alcidi in 6th position in the stage, but fighting for a DSG podium spot, which he seems to have in the bag so far, being 3rd in class, just behind teammate Emilio Damante for Tudor Motorsport, who is eyeing a double podium in the category, which would be absolutely fantastic for them. As now we see what is the fight for 3rd place in the stage, and that is 2 different cars belonging to 2 different categories, the Gen 1 of Ibrahim Okiai and the DSG of Senna Somerville, as the Jamaican pulls to the outside as a double lockup from Ibrahim Okiai to try and defend the position that allows Somerville to hit him with the switchback, and that is a fantastic move from the Jamaican, who moves into 3rd place for Wimmerwerk Motorsport in the overall standings. Though Ibrahim Okiai is not done, he is managing to re-overtake his rival with a better straight line speed, and that is exactly what happened with Ibrahim Okiai now back into 3rd in the overall standings. Though Somerville is not done, he's looking to the inside, trying to make the move stick. It's not going to work for him though, as now they enter the final lap of the race, which is exactly what Sandro Pelatti is about to do, with Yuri Brigliadori closely behind. It's going to take a miracle for the latter to win this race. He needs to overtake Pelatti and then gap him by 3 seconds. As Somerville now looks to the outside of turn number 4. Not happening though, says Ibrahim Okiai. He wants to take this podium for Texaco Team AMS, the leaders of the Gen 1 standings and the reigning Gen 1 champions, as well as reigning teams champions. As for that matter, as Somerville tries a crazy move up the inside of turn number 5, of course, not finding the right space to make his way through Ibrahim Okiai, with Somerville now trying to find maybe a small little gap to launch it up the inside or around the outside of Ibrahim Okiai, who's, however, holding his own pretty well, though we now have to switch to the battle of the stage lead for Sandro Pelatti and Yuri Brigliadori in what is also the fight for the race lead itself and the race win on the final lap of the race. Yuri Brigliadori making his car as big as he can in the mirrors of Sandro Pelatti. The latter trying his best to stay focused and keep his rival behind as they go through the second sector for the final time this weekend. There it is, the number 6 stranded Cupra of Wimmerwerk Motorsport. The huge turnaround of today's race that saw the number 6 crew being put out of contention. Let's see now if Brigliadori maybe tries a move in a chicane. Yes, he does. Up the inside goes Yuri Brigliadori on Sandro Pelatti, who is now up the inside of the next corner. The 2 bang wheels as Brigliadori is showed the door from Sandro Pelatti, who keeps first position, taking his elbows out and defending as hard as he can for that race lead. What a finish here in Mugello with Sandro Pelatti, who is now just 2 corners away from his 2nd win in TCR European Endurance, but most importantly, the first one of the season. Through the final corner come the 2 leaders of today's phenomenal race here in Mugello, but it's PMA Motorsport with Sandro Pelatti and his teammate Franco Girolami, who are about to cross the start-finish line to take home the victory for the opening race of the 2025 TCR European Endurance season by just 3.6 seconds in the overall standings from BF Motorsport with Yuri Brigliadori and Alessandro Alcidi. What a finish here in Tuscany. A phenomenal way to start off the season as the number 72 Audi takes victory with PMA Motorsport, Franco Girolami and Sandro Pelatti, who are victorious once again after their fantastic effort in Misano last year for round 3. They're now back on top here in Mugello. It was a phenomenal, sensational effort from car number 3 as well to try and make it up to P1. Brigliadori bringing the gap down to nothing. The stage was decided by 0.6 of a second and the race itself by 3.6 seconds. But what a performance from BF Motorsport, taking home pole position, P3 in the first stage and P2 in stage number 2. But that was a fantastic showing from our drivers, and behind them it was Ibrahim Okiai who kept Senna Summerbell at bay, experience against youth, and this time it was the former who got the better of it for just 0.3 of a second, though in the final standings that summed the times between stage number 1 and stage number 2, it is Senna Summerbell who is now able to pull alongside Ibrahim Okiai and say, well done, you won the battle but not the war, as the Jamaican will step on the podium in the overall standings after a phenomenal performance this weekend as the number 32 car gets home in P1 in the DSG standings. And of course, Ibrahim Okiai will be happy as well with P1 in the Gen 1 category. The DSG podium is then concluded by Tudor Motorsport with Emilio Davante and Edoardo Maccari in car number 8, with Luca Giovannoni in car number 38 finishing in 3rd, together with his teammate Alessio Alcidi in what was a fantastic weekend for Tudor Motorsport as well, as here you can see the replays of today's stage. But what a performance from our drivers, and here you can see the fight between car number 6 and car number 72 with Salvatore Tavano's teammate that is fighting against Franco Girolami at the start of the race. So thank you very much for staying with us. We'll leave you to the highlights of stage number 2 with car number 72, PMA Motorsport, taking the overall victory here in Mugello. It's been lovely to be with you, and see you from the 6th to the 8th of June in Slovakia at the Slovakia Ring. Thank you and have a great rest of the day.